I call this meeting to order at 10 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Hi, Jacob. Jacob Tedesco is joining us today, I imagine about our November event. I will read the land acknowledgement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hadiwandurung, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Nope. Then we're moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda, please?
Ray Borland will move.
Linda will second.
Okay. Ray has moved, Linda has seconded. I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Anyone opposed? No, then that is carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of, can I do both meetings? Of our last regular meeting at the end of September and the special meeting held on October 15th, please. Tom has moved. Ray has seconded. All those in favor? Okay, anyone opposed? No, then that is carried as well. Moving on to correspondence. I have been told by the former chair, Craig Russell, or I've been reminded, that there are two outstanding heritage awards that were given out before COVID, and they were for Bob Litigo and Kathy Peltier for their significant contribution of heritage here in Thorold while they were on the Thorold newspaper, and to Andre and Victoria, I don't know their last names. Tom, do you remember? They are the owners of the Grenville House, a designated house on Queen Street, and they basically brought it back from a very dilapidated state and restored it. So these awards were given out by the Heritage Committee years ago, but they were awarded to these people, but the awards were never printed out, framed, and given out, which usually happens in council. So we have to get to this. So, Councillor, if you could perhaps inquire at which council meeting this could possibly be done, and then I will have the award papers printed out and framed. Okay. And speaking of that, I assume there is actually Heritage Awards given out every year just within Thorold. If anybody has a candidate that has contributed majorly to Thorold heritage, either by saving a heritage property or by promoting our heritage like Kathy and Bob did, then bring it up and we can see whether we want to give. Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How do you propose we do this? Do you want us to email you some names so that we can?
No, there's no rush. You can, oh, yeah, maybe that should, yes. Justin, to you, are there usually working groups or whatever set up for that kind of thing? Probably not, right?
Madam Chair, Ray Borland.
Oh.
So
I don't recall us over the recent past having any awards that we sent out.
You don't
I don't know how long I've been on the committee, but it's a reasonable period.
Yeah. And you don't, I didn't quite hear what you said.
I said I did not, I don't recall any discussion or putting forth a motion that somebody would get a recognition for anything over the past number of years.
Okay, so maybe let's,
I think it's a good idea, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
yeah, okay. But we don't have to deal with this right now. If anybody knows of a person or persons who might be potential candidates, then just bring them up, maybe in emails first. And then we can see whether we bring that forward in the committee. Okay? All right. Yes, Councillor, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it might be recommended, suggested that you get in touch with our former chair, Craig Finley,
Yeah.
and just go over some of the other awards and how it worked in the past so that we continue to follow.
Yeah, that's
so-
actually, thank you
okay.
very much. That sounds reasonable. Then we're going to move on to financial.
Madam Chair, I have one correspondence item, actually.
Okay.
So at their meeting on October 21st, 2024, the Darlene Ryan Port Robinson Community Center passed a resolution asking council to consider amending bylaw 1989-1251 to remove the chimney from the designation. And this is the exact same motion that this committee passed in September.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments with regards to the Port Robinson Community Center? We had already moved on that. Was already made by this committee. Councillor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a question through you to Justin. Justin, does that mean it will automatically go to council, or does a councillor have to bring a motion forward now?
So through the chair to the committee, it will be on the next agenda on November 12th, a memo advising that this committee and the Darlene Ryan has passed the motion and that staff consider starting the process to amend the bylaw.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks. Moving on to financial invoices for payment. There will be a number of invoices coming. I have handed in some smaller clerical things like for printing materials to planning, but we haven't received any invoices yet for designation plaques or anything like that. So a lot of those larger invoices will come fairly late in the year again, Justin, so I will let you know. I know that generally they have to be handed in before January 31st, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. And then a brief update on our next budget. I've had a meeting with Morgan about our budget. She suggested, and that's a good idea, that the committee will get together with planning and with finance in July or August before the city budget is discuss with them what we are planning for the next year. Now, of course, this hasn't happened for this coming budget, so she thinks that the budget that we will get will be the same amount that we've been given for the last couple of years. And I have assured her that we will stay within those boundaries. But next July or August, we will have some discussions, and that means that we should maybe discuss before then what we want to do in 2026. We also discussed that perhaps the wording for our budget requests can be done in such a way that finance can be a little bit more flexible in terms of what that money actually goes for, because generally every amount that is paid has to be for a specific thing that was requested and then bought if the money is spent on something else, it always has to go to council first to be approved. But we said maybe there's a way to be a little bit more flexible if these are legitimate requests and legitimate expenses, that there can be a little bit of flexibility in the word. So that's the plan for next year in terms of our for the year of 2026. For 2025, I have handed in my budget requests. I have requested 2 standard designations, as well as expenses for events and printed materials, and also plaque stands. We will bring that up later when we are discussing history plaques. But I've already here asked that perhaps, depending on what we want to designate, if a certain amount is set aside for designations, and a larger site, like a landscape or a large cemetery, for instance, would be more costly to designate than, let's say, 2 standard homes, whether that could be switched around instead of having 1 designation instead of 2, or something similar. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but I've put in that request. We'll see what they say. But that is what I know for next year's budget for now, and then we'll deal with it once that is decided by council. Any comments with regards to that? Nope. Then we're moving on to ongoing business. Installation of history plaques of designated properties. The Stone Store, there's no update yet. As far as I know, that plaque has not been located yet. I'm pretty certain it is at the arena, but it has to be found, and once it's found, it will be attached. Trinity United is still not done with their building work, and the plaque will be erected once that is done. And now we're coming to what I just mentioned under budget. Candidates for 2025 to be given history plaques, I mean designated buildings that don't have one yet, and plaque replacements. I've been approached by various people, including Dave and Mary, who own a heritage property that has a plaque with a spelling mistake, that some of the plaques need to be replaced. The other ones that need to be replaced are plaques that have faded to such a degree that they are now illegible. So the stand does not have to be replaced, and that is the expensive part, just the text part that sits on top. So in order to fit that into next year's budget, I have we usually budget for 2 additional history plaques with stands to give those designated properties that don't have one yet that information for people to walk by to know what this property is all about. So one of those I have replaced with replacement plaques for those stands where the plaque either is flawed or very faded, in order not to go over budget. So at the beginning of the year, we should make a list of the properties where a new plaque is needed, and then those plaques will be, as many as we can afford next year, will be replaced. And if there's any more, then those will be addressed the year after. Any comments with regards to that? No? Okay. Then we're moving on to, Nick is not in today, so we'll skip heritage permit update and move on to new business. Our second designation of the year, 18 River Street in Port Robinson, from here on to be called the Duncan McFarland House. The designation bylaw was passed in council at their meeting on October 1st. Council passed Report 43-2024 and the associating bylaw. So the property is now designated by law, but the formal designation has not happened yet. This will happen this coming Sunday, November 3rd, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This will be an unusual designation in that there will be no formal ceremony, no guests from either the city or the province or the region, just the Heritage Committee and the owners. It will be very short, 10 to 15 minutes. As we know, the owners are very private. We knew that from the start, and we had said at the time, we will respect their wishes. The mayor's office has fashioned a certificate that will be given to the owners on this occasion, and Regional Councillor Tim Whalen has also assured me that a certificate from the region will also be given to the owners, forthcoming. Yes, thank you very much. So whoever in the committee would like to come to this event is welcome to do so, but as I said, it will be very short, and it's up to you if you want to come and congratulate the owners. Obviously, nobody is to go into the house. It's going to be casual, not a lot of formal fanfare. Any comments? Yes, Mary.
There. Thank you, Madam Chair. So no one's going in the house?
No.
Wow. What did I want to ask you? Are they still in agreement for the WE plaque that goes by the door?
Yes.
Good.
Now, that plaque is not ready yet. It takes 4 to 6 months for those to make, and of course, a designation has to happen much faster than that. So we will do a mock-up plaque that we will put on a nail until the bronze plaque is finished. And we'll, it will say designated under the Heritage Act.
Yes.
It will basically be a printed version of the bronze plaque attached to a piece of wood. All right?
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like at this point to say thank you, a special thank you to Mary and Dave for their particular efforts in making this happen. Without them talking and very positively, very casually and very confidentially speaking with the homeowner on more than one occasion, this event on Sunday would not happen. And I want to recognize your efforts and say thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Absolutely. This is a very personal designation, and it took the personal efforts of you to make Madeline and Brian comfortable with the idea, and we very much appreciate it, all of us. This house is an important part of Port Robinson history and its architecture. And of course, we also thank Madeline and Brian for having preserved it the way they did and for making sure that it will be preserved for future generations. So thanks again. All right. Any more comments regarding the designation of the Duncan McFarland House? No? Then,
Oh, sorry. There'll be no PA needed there at all, right? For that
there will be no what?
like microphones or anything?
No, it will basically it will be like a conversation
that's
in
what
a
I
small
thought, yeah.
group. There won't be speeches.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on to the event of the year. November 30th, turning of the sod event. Jacob, would you like to speak first to that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just wanted to say congratulations with everything getting passed through council for this event. So it's very exciting, kind of now have the funding behind it for everything to kind of carry forward, which is a big milestone that we've kind of overcome, which is exciting. So yeah, congratulations for that. As far as the event, I've been in contact with our chief at the fire hall, so Terry Dixon and the fire chief, as well as Bertha, his assistant over there. And we've been able to secure Fire Station 2, their meeting room there, to host the reception as well. So that's very good. That's kind of good news. It's closer to the original site rather than moving to Port Robinson Community Center, which is a little bit further out of the way. So that's just around the corner from the original site and close to the Umber Community Center, which again was kind of originally proposed to host the reception. So that's able to be utilized, and it also offers a little bit of a bonus because we won't have to actually rent that space. We'll just have to cover the cost of the insurance for that. So it will save a little bit on the budget as well too, which is great news. Aside from that, we're now kind of good to go forward. So I'll probably be meeting with Anna and kind of ordering everything that we need for the reception and everything like that shortly. But yeah, everything's kind of set in motion now, and we're well underway to go forward with just kind of wrapping up ordering things and getting the permits that we need to make sure everything is able to be hosted on the day.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, thank you to council for passing that proposal that Jacob got ready for this reception. And of course, many thanks to you, Jacob, for your work to get it ready in the first place. For those of you who don't know yet, I guess that only came up after our last meeting. Jacob and Dave Baldoni suggested that the state of the Allenberg Community Center was perhaps a little bit too rough for an event like this, where we have a lot of dignitaries coming, and the community center is slotted for renovations basically right afterwards. And as I said, it's not in a very nice condition right now. Our first idea had been to move the event to Port Robinson, which of course would have been lovely, but first of all, it's further away, and secondly, they were already booked out for that date. So the fire chief has very graciously allowed the event to happen at Fire Station 2 in Thorold South, as Jacob just said. There's a lot of parking there, it's not far away from the bridge, so that should work out nicely. Tom, would you like to add anything more to the discussion of the turning of the sod?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's going to be a very successful event. It's coming together very well, and I would also like to thank Jacob and all the folks from the city that have made such an effort to support us in our efforts and what we're going to do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mary, did you want to say something? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to know if there was any news on the Piper.
That we will have the Piper. I will put in now that, okay, the issue is that our budget is meant for certain things. And I will still have leftovers in the budget after this. I will put in a request to Morgan if we can have the bagpiper. We do not have a town crier anymore who usually would have set off an event like that in a formal and more dramatic way, which always makes these events more special. But Tony Van der Maas retired last year, and we don't have that anymore. A bagpiper would be a very nice thing. We have already decided we will have him no matter what.
Okay.
However, whether it will go through the heritage budget or
Right. Or other ways.
or other ways, that remains to be seen. So it depends on whether that will be considered a legitimate expense.
So then it is clear that Dave should book him before he,
Yes, I had
booked
already
somewhere
made it.
else.
I had already made it clear to his brother and sister-in-law that we do want.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, I have talked to Dave Baldoni about the location of the plaque for this event, and the Seaway has gotten in touch with him. They are in discussions, I guess, where exactly it will go. Jacob, have you heard any news about that yet?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, I haven't heard any, sorry, update or news on the exact location, but I believe it was still, as I heard, kind of in the original area that we'd selected, close to the cairn and the capsule over there.
Okay, great. With regard to the plaque itself, I had sent an email to McGee Marking Devices just asking for an update. We always knew the plaque would come very close to the actual date of the event. Greg, that is the manager or director of McGee's, sent me a message and said the plaque is scheduled to be cast early this coming week, and he says, as for now, it is on schedule. It will be tight, though. So, but we always knew that this might be a temporary installation and not a permanent one, depending on weather. So we'll see. Once we have the plaque and once we know what the weather is going to be like at the end of November, whether it can be set in the ground firmly right away or whether it will be set there just for the ceremony and then has to be put in storage over the winter before it can be cemented in. I have also spoken to Natalie about further advertising for the event, so she will put out notices of save the date. She will also get in touch with CHCH TV about TV coverage, hopefully. And I will, because especially, let me start that again. The city sent out its invitation in the summer, and they won't send out a follow-up invitation. However, especially since our reception site has changed, I will send out a follow-up invitation this week to all the invitees, basically reminding them of the event and also making sure that they know where we congregate after the ceremony. If anyone thinks of somebody who might not have been on the original list, please let me know.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
That includes, you'll send that out into all the committee too?
I can send it to the committee too. I might send a different one to you. The list of invitees is long, like we're talking 70 people or something. Not that they necessarily all show up, but I might send a separate email just to the committee, just to, reduce the size of that list a little bit.
Okay.
Also, I should mention that Dave Benison from Historic Niagara, that's his site, right, has agreed to put up a social media post on his site advertising the event with a video and a blurb to what it's all about, and that is basically going to address more regular citizens who are just interested in showing up just for the ceremony. Yes, Mary?
thank you, Madam Chair. Are you aware that he has thousands
I
of
know.
followers?
I know he has
Just
thousands
so
of
you
followers.
know.
Yes, but
Whoever's making the coffee might want to know that.
Yeah, no, obviously, people who will just show up, they
Yeah.
are not part of the reception. It's just to show up to the ceremony, but I doubt there will be thousands.
No,
If
I
there
just-
were, 200 years ago, there were about 200 guests.
Really?
I,
Oh, that's
well,
nice.
no, not 200 guests, but
Yeah.
200 people who showed up for the event. I don't think we will get that. If we did, I think that would be an amazing thing, but
Yeah.
I think that's quite optimistic.
Oh, Tom.
Yes, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I spoke to Dave yesterday, and he's going to film either today or tomorrow, depending on the weather. And he's going to be posting his first post very, very shortly. And so we're looking, so if you see it, Mary, let me know, okay? I will. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Dave?
Could you remind me the time of this?
Do that.
The event, the time when it starts? I
It's
don't.
November 30th,
Yes.
11 o'clock in the morning at
11,
the
okay.
Allenberg Bridge,
Okay.
west side of the canal,
Thank
where
you
the
very
cairn
much.
is.
Yeah.
That's where the ceremony will take place. Then, of course, we'll have to cross the canal to get to the fire hall.
Yeah.
So hopefully, there isn't a big ship coming right at that moment. During the ceremony would actually be amazing, but, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. All right. Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to mention Dave's Facebook page. It's called Historical Niagara, and he's got 24,000 followers. He has some very interesting articles and information, so if anyone wants to follow up and watch what he puts out about the Turning of the Sod event, then it's Historical Niagara on Facebook.
Thank you very much. Did you have a comment too, Tom? Okay. Anyone else? Anything you would like to add, Justin? No? Okay. All right, then we will move on to street naming working group. Justin will give us some updates about that.
Thank you. So through the chair to the committee, the short question is the city needs more street names, and there is a process through planning that a working group is formed involving various staff, and there is one committee, one position for a member of this committee on that working group. But before we get to that step, we're looking to suggest if this committee wants to form its own working group to come up with a list of potential more historical type names that can be presented to that other working group once that formed, and they can discuss those options. So if there is interest in forming that, we can form that and have a few members on it if they are interested.
Okay, I put that to the committee. Yes, Councillor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll volunteer for that working group.
Okay. I'll volunteer for it too, but it's pretty one-sided that way. So if anybody else is, okay, Tom. All right, is 3 enough for a working group?
There was a there was a member, a former member. He's now dealing with the new museum and stuff. But he put forth a former member put forth a fair number of names, historic names that he thought would be good for streets,
Yeah.
street names. And I don't know if you have that or not.
Yeah, well, they were probably at the time given to the city, but I know you're talking of
I can't remember the name right at the
yeah,
moment.
Randy.
Pardon?
Randy.
Yes, yes. Randy
yeah,
did put forth
yeah.
quite a few names that he thought were more historic for our city.
Yeah.
So maybe he still has them, even if the city doesn't have them, because there've been so many changes. Maybe Randy would still have them to
Yeah. Well, we can.
suggest.
Yeah. Councillor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Justin. Justin, what do we need, 4 people for a working group?
You can have two. There's no limit.
Oh,
just
so we
no-
have a
just
working group
No
now.
more
Yeah,
than
we have a
six.
working group. Yeah.
Are we able to invite a resident to join the working group?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going
Why
to
not?
put a name forward. Our former chair perhaps may want to join us.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Madam Chair, at this time we just need a mover and seconder to form the working group. And then right now I have names as Councillor O'Hare, yourself, and Tom Russell as the members.
Okay.
I'm thinking perhaps Randy would be available.
All I need is committee member names, and then if the working group wants to reach out to
Yeah.
non-committee members, they can
Yeah.
do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. So can I get a mover and a seconder to form a street naming working group with Councillor O'Hare, Tom Russell, and myself, Anna O'Hare, as members, and any residents that we might want to invite? Dave has moved. Jonathan has seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All right, anyone opposed? No, then that is carried. All right, we can agree via email. No talking in the classroom, please. We can make a date to get together and talk about this via email. All right. Then we're moving on to the 2025 committee meeting schedule. Justin has sent out a memorandum about what the schedule will be, or what it's set to be right now, which is the same as it was this year. 9 meetings, none in April, August, or December. And we basically have to have a formal agreement that we are okay with this. So could I have the committee move that the Heritage Advisory Committee meetings be held on the last Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m., with the exception of the months when no meetings will be held, being April, August, and December 2025. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Oh, yes, sorry. Councillor O'Hare has moved. Can I have a seconder? Dave has seconded. I call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Nope. Then that is carried. And as usual, if there's an emergency meeting that needs to be called, then of course we can do that. So there is flexibility here. But I think that worked out perfectly fine this year. We don't need those additional 2 meetings formally scheduled in April and May. It is perfectly all right to call a very short online meeting if we have to pass a motion of some sort. Okay, then we're moving on to our work plan. At this, we're going to go through this very quickly today. This is mainly things that for next year. Our designation priorities, of course, there will be single properties that will be discussed, one of them being St. John's School, which we do have the approval to designate for from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. Districts, of course, will also be discussed, but that is something that will be, ever comes to fruition, will be a process that will take years, not months. So, and will depend on council being at all amenable to the idea. But I have added a third type of designation, and that being landscapes. And landscapes to be understood in a broader sense in this case, just a site that is not a downtown neighborhood like a conservation district, and not a single house or building, but a larger area that is not necessarily architecturally developed, like cemeteries or other kinds of sites. The idea came to me when Natalie came to the committee last month with her project for the history walks, digital history walks, and she had added Lakeview, the old section of Lakeview Cemetery, to that particular project. Lakeview Cemetery is not designated. A lot of our historic cemeteries are. And some of the most important people in Thorold's history are buried there. And even though a lot of these oldest graves were actually relocated to that section of Lakeview from the former Lutheran and Anglican churchyards because of the canal, that too is a major part of Thorold history, that the canal actually made it necessary to move cemeteries to a different spot. So if that land, which for the longest time wasn't clear whether those graves would have to be relocated again because the land might be needed for another reservoir in the canal, but if that land is finally not touched anymore and comes back to the city and stays a cemetery, that is a site that we should suggest to council to designate under the Heritage Act for its historic significance. And not just for the graves, but there's also a very interesting international historic connection with Japan in the form of an alley of cherry trees that were donated by the great-granddaughter or granddaughter of a woman who in the 19th century married a Japanese industrialist, moved to Japan and founded a school there. So that, as a connection to Thorold history, is really quite unique. So Old Lakeview Cemetery has significance, and if it will stay a cemetery, then I think it is a very good candidate for designation. So that is something to think about for next year. Any comments? Yes, Tom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. After our last meeting, I met with Natalie also, and we discussed Port Robinson in terms of the cemeteries, a walking tour, and the individuals that were prominent in the early part of the last century, or even into the century before. And I will work with her and work on developing a series of names and potentially looking at grave sites and that type of thing. Very similar to what you're talking about, but I said I would look after the Port Robinson, but so I will.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay. So we're leaving discussions for any designation projects. We can maybe touch upon them with Nick if he's at the next meeting, just to find out whether a landscape like Lakeview Cemetery would need a different kind of approach than just a single property. And then let's move on to information events and fairs. The real estate community information session hasn't happened yet, but I have been assured by Lally Homes and Emerald Realty in downtown Thorold that they are going to host an evening for colleagues of theirs and the real estate community to learn more about heritage properties, what is necessary to know for prospective owners or existing owners, and also for real estate agents when they have a property like that on their list of for sale sites. But there's no news to report at this point. Then, does anybody have any comments regarding the outstanding items on our list? No, neither do I. So then we come to our roundtable discussion. Mary, I'll start with you. Do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Dave?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ray?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Linda?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Jacob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just perhaps I'll book a follow-up meeting with you or someone to start booking some of these things as well, just so we can make sure everything's set in stone here.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Jonathan?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks very much. I hope you're feeling better soon. Counselor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one thing, just to remind everyone that November 30th is the turning of the sod, but it's also the Santa Claus Parade. So it's going to be a very busy Saturday, but there's plenty of time for both events. The turning of the sod will take place earlier in the morning as well as right around the lunchtime, and the Santa Claus Parade will be starting later in the afternoon. So keep those two dates on your calendar. It should be a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Counselor. And Tom?
Nothing at this time, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. And Justin?
Nothing to add, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Then our next meeting will be held on November 26th at 10 a.m. As usual, hybrid format as today. So that will be just a few days before the turning of the sod. Maybe I will see some of you on Sunday for the designation of the Duncan McFarland House. If not, then thanks very much for being here today, and look forward to seeing you at the end of November. And there being no further business, this meeting is then closed or adjourned at 10:47. Thanks very much.